I bought this cabin for almost nothing, just 25 cents. No one cared, but something about it felt different. It looked abandoned for years, weathered wood, quiet surroundings, but it still had strong bones. I walked around it carefully. Every detail told a story, and I knew there was potential here. The land stretched further than expected. Quiet forest on one side, development creeping in from the other. I stood there and looked ahead. The location was everything. That's when it clicked. The ground was untouched, natural, quiet, undisturbed. That kind of land doesn't stay cheap. I checked the paperwork carefully. Everything looked clean and simple, no complications at all. From above, the contrast was clear. Nature meeting expansion, and that's where value grows. I stayed patient and quiet, no rush, no noise. Time would do the work. The sun dropped behind the trees. Everything felt still and certain. I knew I made the right move. The next morning felt even clearer. Everything looked the same, but the value had already changed. I started noticing small details. Strong structure beneath the surface. It just needed time. Development kept moving closer. Slow but steady, and that changes everything. I stayed organized and patient. Every move had to be precise, no mistakes allowed. From above, the shift was obvious. The area was evolving fast, and I was right. In the middle of it, I prepared everything carefully. No rush, just steady progress. That's how value builds. I trusted the process completely. Everything was moving in the right direction. Patience always pays off. The light shifted across the land. Time was doing its work, and I didn't need to rush anything. I reviewed everything again. Details matter more than anything. Clarity keeps you ahead. A year passed faster than expected, and everything had changed quietly, and the real story was just beginning. A year later, everything looked different. Development had reached the edge of the forest, and suddenly this land mattered. I stood there quietly, taking it all in. The same cabin, different value. That's how timing works. What once looked forgotten now stood out completely. Perspective changes everything. From above, it was obvious the land was now at the center, and that changes the game. I checked the numbers again. Everything had grown beyond expectations. The value was undeniable. Access changed everything. What was once isolated was now connected. I stayed calm, thinking it through. Big changes bring big attention, and attention changes everything. Then a letter arrived, unexpected, official, and direct. That's when things shifted. It claimed ownership concerns. Raised questions about the land, but I had already prepared. I didn't react immediately. No rush, no panic, just calm thinking. The land hadn't changed legally, only the attention around it had, and that's a big difference. I reviewed every document again. Everything was clear and valid. Nothing out of place. I stayed focused and calm. No need for confrontation. Clarity handles everything. From above, the boundaries were obvious, defined and unchanged, exactly as they should be. I trusted what I had prepared. Every detail was documented, and that makes all the difference. The land remained steady and calm. Nature didn't change. Only people did. I walked the land again quietly. Everything still felt the same, and that gave me confidence. I kept everything organized. No loose ends, no confusion, just clear facts. The sun dropped across both worlds, old land and new growth. Everything meeting at one point. I stood there calm and certain. Everything was in place, and the truth was about to show. The next morning felt different, not because of the land, but because of what was coming. I stayed calm and steady. Everything was already prepared. There was nothing left to guess. Every document was clear, every detail properly recorded. Nothing could be questioned. The boundaries never changed. They were always there, clear, simple, and defined. I didn't need to argue anything. The facts spoke clearly, and that was enough. From above, it was obvious. The land stood on its own, separate and untouched. Everything stayed organized and clear. No confusion, no missing details, just solid proof. The land remained peaceful. Nothing changed on the surface, but everything was settled. As the sun set, everything made sense. The value, the timing, the patience, it all came together. I took one last look at the land. Everything was exactly where it belonged. If you enjoyed this, like, subscribe, and tell me where you're watching from.